I have successfully learned Turkish through self-study, and I know that it's challenging to find resources for this language. I searched high and low for 3+ years to give you the ultimate Turkish best resources for self-study. Now, this list will include paid and free resources combined. Usually when I make these videos, I do want to keep the resources free. However, I have found through my own experience, it is best to use a combination for the best result. Let's dive into my list from A1 to C2 so you can stop feeling underwhelmed. Make sure to hit the like and subscribe button as well as the bell for notifications, because I am going to make future videos for other languages like this one. Note that when and how you use these resources are going to vary from person to person. We do want to consider how we are going to differ from other learners, but stay till the end of this video as well for examples of A1 to C2 Turkish study plans. First things first, the textbooks for learning Turkish. There are plenty of them if you know where to look. Specifically, I recommend going to pdfdrive.com for the majority of textbooks that I'm going to talk about. Now, in studying any of my foreign languages, I've noticed that I need a main resource that will cover a big level range, so A1 to B1 to B2. It gives me structure and lets me know what I need to prioritize. The best comprehensive textbook series that is free, that I've also found with free audio, is the Istanbul series from A1 to C2 textbooks. Again, all of them are on pdfdrive.com. Download is free. It is immersive, so all instructions are in Turkish. All audio is going to be free on YouTube for the listening exercises. If you are a native Arabic speaker or you already know some Arabic, then once you search on YouTube for the listening audio, you're going to find recordings of a Arabic speaking professor walking you through the A1 through B2 textbooks in Arabic. Resources that offer you learning Turkish through English are not going to be a lot. So if you can speak another language, I really recommend that you search for other resources through that language. For example, with these lessons that I was just talking about for Arabic, or I also found a Langenscheid mit System für Turkish textbook that went through A1 through B1 levels in Germany when I was there. Now, there's also the Yedi Iklim A1 through C2 series. However, I have not been able to find free audio for all of the listening portions, which is pretty inconvenient. So that's why it didn't get on the top of my list. However, in terms of quality of the content, both Istanbul and Yedi Iklim books are great for learning. Both of these books can be purchased through Amazon as well. If you do want physical copies, use the links in the description below to browse them. So update, after doing more research, I found audio is available for A1 to A2 on YouTube for the Yedi Iklim books. For B1, there are a few listening files on YouTube for that series, but they are not consistent, and I could not find the B2 to C2 audio at all. So overall, the Istanbul series is still what I would recommend, just because you have the complete audio for any level for that series. Other Turkish exercises and textbooks that I found on PDF Drive are Turkish vocabulary for English speakers, recommended for A2+, Colloquial Turkish, a complete course for beginners, to which I have not yet found complete audio, but I do recommend it for A1+ as a supplement. Lewis V. Thomas Elementary Turkish, recommended for A1+, Yeni Hitit Turkish Language Set 1, 2, and 3 for more grammar exercises. A2+, you do need a native speaker or a tandem partner to go with you through these exercises because there are no answer keys, unfortunately. However, there are a huge amount of grammar exercises there that I found really helpful. Yabancı Dilim Türkçe 1, 2, 3, and 4 for A2+. This is by Zeki Sözer and Hakan Yilmaz. For more grammar exercises, again, you will need a teacher or native speaker for this to help you check your answers. Teach Yourself Turkish, a complete course for beginners from A1+, and then Learn Turkish Vocabulary 101 by Innovative Language, again, for A1+. Another really good textbook that I recommend at the beginning as a supplement is The Delights of Learning Turkish. You can get it on Amazon for $30. Again, link will be in the description. However, there is no audio to be found, not even online, and it's not even included in the purchased format on Amazon. And so I do recommend it only as a supplement. Another update, I just found out you can buy the accompanying CD for The Delights of Learning Turkish on Amazon, as well as an extra companion workbook for more grammar and vocabulary exercises. Link to purchase both is in the description below. This is a great textbook to get for A1 to B1, especially if you're just starting out, and work on just by yourself, using it as the main resource, especially if you prefer having physical copies of books and audio CDs with you. For free reading online, you can go to turkçeöğretimi.com. You can see these cute little stories written for A1 learners up until B2. For other low-cost resources, check out Scribed. I think their subscription right now is $11.99 monthly in the United States, but there they have a lot more PDFs and audiobooks that you can check out for learning Turkish as well as other languages. Check your local library if you are still in the United States on the Libby app and the Hoopla app. You will have to have a United States library card to access those for free, but you can definitely browse them and find more Turkish resources there. Turkish dictionaries. I always recommend Reverso Context. It's one of the best that I've found for a majority of languages. I also recommend Turing, which I still use currently whenever I am lost for words in Turkish. And then lastly, check out seslisözlük.net. Blogs and websites. I really like these because I find that with language concepts that don't seem to stick the first time around in my head, I don't completely comprehend them. I find that I need to read about those same concepts explained in a slightly different way, presented in a slightly different way in a different format, such as on blogs and websites, rather than just learning them through a textbook or just listening to what is being said. So these following websites are going to be great supplements for beginners. Fluentinturkish.com for A1 to B2 grammar exercises, as well as cultural insights. There is a paywall to access more of the intermediate levels, however. Goethe Verlag for Turkish, you can start with this from A1+. IElanguages.com, which is great for complete beginners, A1+, TurkishBasics.com, Yunus Emre Enstitüsü for interactive video lessons. They also have interactive Turkish A1.1 courses that one of my friends is currently participating in if you do prefer a course from the beginning. Check out the dates on the website since this course may not be offered all the times of the year. The exact URL is going to be right here. In addition, TRT Çocuk, providing Turkish television TV shows for kids. I recommend this for B1+ because there are no English subtitles, but really good for the immersion aspect if you're looking for something different for Turkish. YouTube channels for beginners. I recommend Turkishler, which they're also very active on Instagram. They also offer A1 to B1 courses in Turkish. Minyo is a kids channel in Turkish. Sevimli Dostlar, also a kids channel in Turkish. Teacher Ali Yilmaz, which I love his laid-back lessons and chats. He also seems to cater most from A2 up until B1 levels, however. Gunca Türkçe is a great YouTube channel that I recently found that I would recommend as well for complete beginners up until the intermediate levels. For intermediate YouTube channels, we have Easy Languages Turkish that probably a lot of you are familiar with, hearing authentic Turkish from native speakers through street interviews in real time. Julia Grainer is a great resource if you are looking for inspiration on keeping on going in Turkish. I did my own interview with her completely in Turkish if you do want to check that out, but she is originally German and speaks amazing Turkish, and she really inspired me on my own journey when I was just getting started. She also talks about the German versus Turkish culture and talks with a lot of different interviewees as well. Türkçe Peri Masalları, which I used very, very often from when I was starting out with B1. Let's Practice Turkish is recommended for B1+ because it is a channel for Arabic native speakers. Otherwise, if you do know Arabic, you can browse the channel probably from A1 to learn Turkish and supplement. For advanced, I recommend Olumlu Bak, BBC Türkçe, DW Türkçe to listen to a little bit more news in Turkish, Ecitaşer, Esra Emici, CNN Turk, and probably my favorite, Barış Özcan, who covers a range from scientific theory all the way to productivity. I feel like he's actually the Turkish-speaking equivalent of Ali Abdal. For podcasts, I recommend for beginners, TurkishClass101.com, Turkish Tea Time, which you can also pay for access to their lessons and transcripts, More Than Merhaba, which involves cultural insights as well as language. Let's Learn Turkish from Meltem and Lazaro, who are a couple and they talk about the Turkish language and help Lazaro, who is actually from Spain, learn Turkish as well. For intermediate students, I recommend Turkish Stories from B1 to C1. There are a few stories for A2, but it does mostly cater to an intermediate level. News in Simple Turkish, which is found on Spotify, but it does require a subscription. Learn Turkish with Turkish Coffee, which is a short podcast with less than 10 episodes. SBS Turkish, recommended for B1+, for learning about Turkish-speaking Australians, if you are into that. Easy Languages Turkish, of course I had mentioned this as a YouTube channel, but they also have a podcast for it. Please note there are not a ton of podcasts that will actually teach you the language that have more than 10 episodes. It was really hard to find. By the way, if you love resources, but you found yourself feeling overwhelmed, self-critical, and stuck, you lack accountability and confidence, or a combination of all of it, make sure you sign up for the waitlist for for the Mindful Multilinguals Collective. You'll fast track your progress through confidence, clarity, and consistency, all while taking care of your well-being and finding accountability and support from other language learners in our tight-knit community. Link is in the description below because I only open the doors 4 times a year, so make sure you're the first one to know about it. For advanced podcasts, I recommend Nasıl Olunur from Storytel, Zihnimin Kıvrımları, Nasıl bir Dünya, Nasıl bir Türkiye, Nasıl Başların Şehir Kuşçusu, Yapa Yapa Öğreniyoruz, and Lüzumsuz Bilgiler. For music, I recommend always starting with Net Müzik. Always look at the recommended tab to branch out from the channel and extend your search into other music genres of Turkish, especially if pop music is not your thing, because I feel like this channel is the main music genre covered on this channel. For vocab, Fun Easy Learn Turkish is for learning words and phrases. However, you can learn about 1,000 words before you hit a paywall to access the 5,000 more words on the app. Memrise is always a great tool for spaced repetition, and there are already a lot of pre-made flashcards for you. Quizlet also has pre-made flashcards, or you can make your own. I find it more personalized than Memrise, and it also deals with a lot of spaced repetition. Glossica, which can seem really repetitive at times, but long-term it is highly effective for phrase and fluency building. Now for italki, you can find free flashcards made by either users or professors. Mango Languages, you can get it for free with a university student email address or library card in the United States. Otherwise, it does cost a monthly subscription fee. UTalk categorized vocabulary with cute pictures. It's good for beginners as well as early intermediate Turkish learners looking to fill gaps in their vocabulary knowledge. It doesn't go much more into depth than that, so I would not recommend it for anyone who is moving into the B2 territory. For language tutors and language exchanges, I always recommend italki. You can use this code right here to get a discount on your very first lesson with them. For shows and movies, I love dubbing either Peppa Pig, Ben and Holly's Magical Kingdom, or Peanuts into Turkish. Recommended for levels A1 to A2. They speak super clearly and the storylines are really easy to follow. Any American Disney movies that are dubbed in Turkish, I would recommend for B1+. One of my favorite Turkish films that I have to recommend is Ayla, which I would recommend for B2+ listeners. Çilek Kokusu, Arkadaşlar İyiydi, and Bir Litre Gözyaşı are 3 Turkish YouTube series that I thoroughly enjoyed that I can recommend for B2+ as well. However, there are also so many Turkish dramas that you can discover after watching all of these. Believe me, they're really long. Film İzlesene is a great site to find from American films that are dubbed in Turkish as well as from other countries. Other freebies are FSI and is used to train the language skills of diplomats. It's free, it's supplemental. I personally didn't enjoy using it as much just because it's really dry and the material is older. However, it can be a good supplement for the right learners to work and fill in some of the gap knowledge as well as learn those basic phrases. GLOSS, the Global Language Online Support System from the Defense Language Institute in the United States, is a totally free resource that you can use to brush up on your skills, especially for reading and listening. And then 101languages.net is also there for Turkish. Now we have come to the sample study plans. These are coming from what has worked for me best with learning multiple languages. Take inspiration from these plans, or you can try bits and parts out for yourself just to experiment the resources, the study time, and study flow that works for you best. Now for study plans, we are assuming that we're going to take 1 to 2 hours every day to study. I'm assuming you want to use Turkish best resources for self-study. You want the resources to be free, but you're willing to pay for a tutor every so often. You do not have to meet the deadline, and you want to improve in the 4 areas of writing, reading, listening, and speaking. It is highly recommended before you go into these study plans to determine what I call your anchoring essential, aka why are you learning Turkish in the first place? Truly knowing that foundation about yourself will help you more effectively make a study plan fit for your needs and your well-being. Now, let's get into the plan. With A1, generally you want to start small, beat the overwhelm, use maximum 3 resources for about an hour. Main resource, which includes listening and reading, is the Istanbul A1 book. Using the free audio on YouTube, which will last about 30 minutes, you would then review vocabulary and phrases with Fun Easy Learn for 15 minutes, and then the beginner YouTube channel you would watch the A1 lessons with Ali Yilmaz for about 15 minutes. For A2, rule of thumb, you're building your foundations to form more complete sentences, and you can handle yourself in everyday situations, talk about basic vocabulary. Now here, I would recommend expanding to 5 resources, and we're still aiming for an hour of self-study every day. The main resource, including listening and reading, would be the Istanbul A2 book, using free audio on YouTube, lasting about 30 minutes, reviewing a vocabulary through Quizlet, Anki, or Fun Easy Learn for 10 minutes, reading an A2 short story with Türkçeöğretimi.com for 20 minutes, and then bonus, 1 time per week, meet with a tutor for 30 to 60 minutes to introduce speaking. You can also find a language partner as well as browse music in Turkish at this time. B1, rule of of thumb, you are using more complex sentences than before, I would include a little bit more of immersion at this stage, but you will understand the main ideas of work, leisure, travel topics in this category. And you can also cope with Turkish while traveling. I would recommend a max 6 resources at this point, but I would recommend as well you reevaluate what resources are working for you up until this point and what resources you might want to try out next. Again, 1 to 2 hours depending on how much you're speaking at this level. The main resource, including listening and reading, would be the Istanbul B1 book, using the free audio on YouTube for 30 minutes, extra listening to more authentic, unscripted speech with Easy Languages Turkish for about 15 minutes, passive listening with trtçocuk.net for 15 minutes, and then speaking where you talk with a speaking partner or a tutor for 1 to 2 times per week for at least 30 minutes each. B2 is where full immersion is going to be introduced. Reevaluate what resources you like, do away with the ones that you don't like, as well as the study methods that have not been working for you. Keep in between anywhere from 6 to 12 resources, but just know you might be a little bit bored staying longer with only one resource, because at this point your brain is absorbing a lot more, a lot faster, because you've already built the foundation of the language from A1 to B1 levels. I recommend 1 hour and 30 minutes to 2 hours and 30 minutes for the session. Your main resources, including listening and reading, would be the Istanbul B2 book. Dive into other textbooks if you want a change in resource. This will last about 40 minutes. Expand into more diverse resources and topics, challenging yourself to listen, even though you might not understand everything. Make note and look up the unknown words if it is interfering with your ability to understand the main idea. However, do not feel like you need to look up every single word in a passage that is given in the textbook or elsewhere. After the main resource, you could listen to the podcast Yapa Yapa Öğreniyoruz for about 10 minutes, as well as the Barış Özcan YouTube channel. Then you can listen to your music and pick out different TV shows and movies that you also like for a more passive immersion that would last 30 minutes. Bonus is speaking as much as possible, at least 1 time per week for an hour, or you can chop that into 2 times per week for 30 minutes each. Now for C1 to C2, we are very flexible here because this is a very personalized level where you've been studying long enough to know what your strengths and weaknesses are in the Turkish language. Here you'll really start to fill in your knowledge gaps and really hone in on, in particular, the more neglected areas most likely of language learning, which are reading and writing. It is advisable to determine what you don't know by going through either the Istanbul C1 or C2 textbooks or the Yedi İklim textbooks. Whatever topics you're unsure about or you need more practice with, definitely spend the time to practice those. Use the Yeni Hitit exercise books to fill in gaps to get extra practice, maybe even from previous levels, because sometimes advanced speakers also need practice at times. I recommend pure immersion at this point as well when you're not looking to fill in the knowledge gaps for the structure and grammar of the language. You can pick whatever you'd like to listen to, such as DW Türkçe on YouTube, to be exposed to native material on a regular basis. And at this stage, I would recommend getting more uncomfortable, pushing yourself to express the same ideas in more advanced ways. Purposely look up specialized terms and niches relevant to you, and add backup filler words and expressions that native speakers would also use, if you haven't been doing so already. C2 is complete immersion, very niche topics, very academic, lots of nuances and vocabulary as well as expressions, and understanding the cultural context behind those expressions. I almost always hire native teachers at the C1 and C2 levels to work with me, especially because generally we will get further with them than without them at this point when there's so much nuance involved in the language. Now you have all you need to dive into my Turkish best resources for self-study. So let me know in the comments below how you plan to move forward with the resources provided. Make sure to give this video a like as well as subscribe, hit the notification bell whenever I make another video like this about another one of my languages. Make sure to watch this next video if you're interested in listening to me speak more Turkish on the channel, and I will see you guys for another video very soon.